I believe in a different concept of football design.
The name might not ring a bell, but Brian Clough is considered one of the best coaches in history. A revolutionary coach, Brian Clough has left his mark. His achievements on the field and his shocking statements in the media left no one indifferent and even reached the ears of a certain Muhammad Ali.
Brian Clough, some soccer player or something. Anyway, I heard all the way in America, heard all the way in Indonesia that this fella talks too much. They say he's another Muhammad Ali. There's just one Muhammad Ali. And I want you to, whoever you are, you're not a fighter and you don't take my job.
In January 1975, Brian Clough decided to join Nottingham Forest in the English Second Division. A new adventure began for the English coach, but little did he know that his experience would make him one of the best coaches in the sport. Subscribe to Megafoot, the best of football in video. His arrival at Forest came after more or less successful spells at Leeds United and Derby County. Together with his faithful sidekick Peter Taylor, he wrote one of the most beautiful pages in Derby County's history, with a league title in 1972 and a European Champion Clubs Cup semi-final. But Brian Clough had some problems afterwards. He was appointed manager of Leeds United in 1975, but only stayed on the Peacocks bench for 44 days. It was a story that will live long in memories.
I think it's a very sad day for Leeds. I think it's slightly sad for football.
A dismal failure marked by Peter Taylor's refusal to accompany him on this adventure. But Brian Clough is ambitious, and he does not intend to stop there. His arrival at Nottingham Forest symbolises a new beginning for Brian Clough, who must prove that he is not finished. A feeling of regression animates the observer since Brian Clough was English champion 3 years before with Derby County. A step backward and then a step forward. Once again, he had to face the refusal of his historical acolyte Peter Taylor to assist him in this new challenge. This was a major absence which was inevitably felt in the results. Between 1975 and 1976, Forest finished respectively in 16th and 8th place and struggled to convince. Aware of the difficulty of doing this without Peter Taylor, Brian Clough made a plea for help to convince him to join Forest. "Peter, please, I can't do this without you." Finally, on July 16, 1976, Peter Taylor accepted and met up with Brian Clough, a saving grace that will totally transform the team. The duo were very complementary and gave the whole club a new lease of life. He was much better at dealing with people and scouting, and he calmed the dressing room and made some masterful recruitment moves as usual. The results were not long in coming, and the tandem finished in third place, synonymous with promotion to Division 1. To survive in the top flight, a division they knew well from winning it with Derby County, the duo applied the old winning formula. As Brian Clough used to say, "I am the shop window, Peter is everything inside." The aim is to retain the core group that has been there for several years. John McGovern, Frank Clark, John Robertson, Tony Woodcock, Ian Bower and Viv Anderson, the first black player to play for England. To complete the squad, Peter Shilton, an experienced and renowned goalkeeper, arrived at Forest, along with Kenny Burns and Archie Genmill. As well as Peter Taylor's keen eye on the transfer market, the duo had a tendency to bring back players who were at the end of their careers. Kenny Burns, a scrappy player, was on the downward slope before Taylor and Clough arrived. Building on the momentum of the previous season, the Tricky Trees continued to surprise and beat the Reds to the English League Cup at Old Trafford by the slimmest of margins, 0-1. Defensively, very solid, with Peter Hilton keeping a close eye on things. Nottingham Forest is at the top of the league at the end of the season. Undefeated from mid-November to May, Clough's side were impressive and finished as English champions, more than 7 points clear of two-time defending champions Liverpool. With an impervious defence having conceded only 24 goals in 42 games, Nottingham Forest impressed. Kenny Burns, who had not been a unanimous favourite a few years earlier, was voted best player. Naturally, Brian Clough was named Manager of the Year. On the domestic front, Nottingham Forest won 2 out of the 3 titles and won the hearts of football lovers. But now the focus is on Europe. During the transfer window, Forest acquired the services of Trevor Francis for a then record fee of £1 million. In the round of 16 of the European Champions Clubs Cup, Forest faced Liverpool, a good start against a natural favourite. In the end, Forest won 2-0 on aggregate thanks to a goal and an assist from Gary Birtle, who arrived in 1976 from amateur football. In the league, Forest were unstoppable and continued their unbeaten run from the previous season until December 1978. More than 42 games without defeat before losing to Anfield, a record that would not be broken until 36 years later by the Arsenal Invincibles. Eventually, as the weeks went by, Forest gave up and Liverpool regained their throne. As a consolation, they won a second League Cup in a row at the expense of Southampton, but all eyes are on another competition. To reach the last quarter of the European Cup, Forest defeated AEK Athens 7-2 and Grasshopper Zurich 5-2, without too much difficulty. But in the semi-finals, a different kind of opponent awaited them: Cologne. In the first leg at the City Ground, the dream turned into a nightmare and the Germans were soon leading 2-0. Finally, the Tricky Trees recovered and obtained a draw. The decision will have to be made in Germany. In Cologne, Forest is dominated in all the compartments of the game. Clough and Taylor's players were not able to score offensively, but they held on until the hour mark. The ideal moment for Ian Bauer to score the only goal of the game. A goal of paramount importance that sends his team to the European Cup final. A historic performance for a team relatively unknown to the general public that was still in the second division 2 years ago. Shilton said after the game, "You know us all now." Yes, Forest had just made a name for themselves all over the world. The final took place on the 30th of May 1979 in Munich against Malmo. Trevor Francis, recruited for a golden hello during the summer Machado, was decisive and scored the long-awaited goal. Victory! 1-0, Nottingham Forest is on the roof of Europe. A remarkable season in which they beat all the odds. A performance engraved in the memory. However, the game was just beginning. During the pre-season, several tensions broke out within the club, and some decided to leave the ship. On the national level, Forest disappointed and finished the year in 5th place. On the European scene, Forest left little to be desired, first of all by winning the European Super Cup against Barca at Camp Nou. Once again, Forest are making no bones about it, easily defeating their direct rivals to reach the semi-finals of the European Champions Clubs Cup. To reach another European Cup final, Clough and Taylor's side will have to beat European giants Ajax Amsterdam. Once again, Forest surprised everyone and won 2-1 on aggregate. The team headed for Madrid and a second final in 2 years. In order to make the long-awaited back-to-back, Forest will have to win against Hamburg, a formidable team full of talent led by Kevin Keegan and Felix Magath. In front of more than 50,000 fans, the Tricky Trees took their chances and John Robertson, the man of the club, became a legend by scoring the only goal of the match. Forest thus retained their European crown and can claim to be the only English team to have achieved such a feat. A club that has the distinction of having more European Champions Clubs Cups than First Division Championships to its name. But this golden era marked the beginning of the end of the Clough-Taylor tandem. Soon after, the two men were no longer on the same wavelength. Taylor packed up and the pair stopped talking to each other. Without a trusty sidekick, Clough found it extremely difficult to repeat past performances. With Forest in constant decline, the fans demanded that they be sacked and Brian Clough left the club in 1993. That same year, the club dropped to the English Second Division. Since then, Forest have lost some of their glory days, chasing their past glories relentlessly. At best, the Reds have fluctuated between the first and third tier of English football. They're currently in the Championship. Despite this complicated end to their adventure, the Clough-Taylor duo will have in many ways transformed Nottingham Forest and English football. A second division club, twice European champions in the space of only 4 years. Thank you for watching our video. If you'd like to learn more about your favourite sport, don't hesitate to talk about our channel around you, to like it and to share it. It helps us a lot to keep creating more videos about football and its crazy stories. See you soon for a new video. Ciao.